Welcome to our meeting. This is going to be fun. And I know, especially y'all, the students with us, you might think, oh my gosh, this is not going to be fun. But it will be, right, Molly?
Yes, it will be the best fun you'll ever have.
Yes, I knew it would be. Good, and if y'all could sign in the back and get a handout and some index cards and things. But I'm Hetty Johnson, and I've been a speech language pathologist for 43 years in June. And I've always specialized in treating the whole person. I've worked with from nursing homes down to, well, not quite infants, but babies, little babies. And so treating the whole person has always been my interest in helping people to be the best they can be. And I've especially also specialized in helping anybody who is kind of struggling, people who are smart and things are harder than they ought to be. That's the sort of thing, people who are just very smart and creative, but school may be more of a struggle, and they're very creative, think out of the box people. Do we have anybody here that thinks out of the box? Yes, we have. So it's a lot of that kind of thing, but the last year I've really had especially a big interest, and that's what we're going to talk about today. It's important to use your whole body for learning. Everybody learns better this way. So you learn best when you see and hear and talk and touch and move while you're learning. And you know how they say the way to a man's heart is through his stomach? But I like to say the way to your brain is through your body. And it's free. Everybody, do you already have your body with you? Show me your body. Everybody got one? Yes. So it's already here. And so I want you to put learning inside your body to open the doors in your brain and to your brain. So here's your brain. Okay. And at the top here, this thing about swag, I just want to say, my husband and I are sponsoring a program at Auburn for the next 5 years in which we're training a graduate assistant every year to teach multisensory strategies to any students that just want to make better grades with less stress, and it's free to them. And so this is our first year, and so Matthew Paul Cowley is our student this year, and he made up, instead of me calling it multisensory teaching, using your whole body, he calls it SWAG, which is a lot cooler, for study with all gears. And so I think that's a pretty cool way to put it. So the first part of the brain we're going to talk about is the back of your brain. Can everybody touch the back of your brain? And let's all yell out really loud. Let's yell, seeing. Seeing. Yes. So this occipital lobes of your brain, the occipital lobes, and if you would sign in the back there, that would be great. Yeah. The occipital lobes are going to light up. They're going to fire. Those neurons are going to fire anytime you're seeing. Okay. So we want that to happen when you're studying. Now, if you touch above your ears, those are the temporal lobes. And let's say hearing and talking. Hearing and talking. Yeah, so when you're hearing and talking, the temporal lobes have to light up, especially on the left side. And then the parietal lobes up here on kind of top back, that's the tactile kinesthetic part. Let's say touching and moving. Touching and moving. Good. So if you're doing all three of those things at once, we have this like brain triangle. Can you make a brain triangle with or I like to call it a magic triangle? And when you're doing all those things while you're studying, it forces your brain to light up and to get it better, to learn better. And now I'm going to add something to the triangle, the frontal lobes. What if you touch the front of your brain, like behind your forehead? And let's say CEO. CEO. Yes, like these frontal lobes are the CEO of your brain. They've been called the conductor of the orchestra. Or it's like, I'll tell my kids, it's like the president of the company. And is it important to have a good CEO or a good president? Yes, like important. And is it important to have a conductor of an orchestra? Like what would happen if you didn't have a conductor, maybe?
Everybody plays their own tune.
Yes.
Everybody is off time, actually.
Yes, so we don't want that to happen to our brain either. And so I want to think a little more about those frontal lobes, and also to say that to get to get all these parts of your brain in that magic triangle and frontal lobes working, it's just if you're playing while you're studying, that makes it happen. If you're walking around while you're yelling out what you have to learn, or if you're hopscotching it, or if you're jumping rope with it, if you're just throwing a ball, if you're dribbling a basketball, kicking, anything you're doing while, or just scribbling, doodling, anything you're doing to be moving, to be seeing, hearing it, talking it out loud, touching and moving. And the CEO, I like to think of that as if you're doing it on purpose and doing it with a plan, with a focus, that's going to bring in that part of your brain. And there's a famous saying in neurology called Hebb's, H-E-B-B, Hebb's law, that says neurons that fire together, wire together. And so if you do all this at the same time while you're studying, playing, it forces your brain to wire together. Does that make sense? Sort of. And it's what makes you learn easier. It makes it all more effective. It's 3D learning. Like in school, so often it's 2D. You're just sitting there, maybe just sitting there reading. And that's like your brain is bored. I mean, your brain needs all this activity to make it light up. And so let's say Hebb's law together. Let's say neurons that fire together, wire together. Let's say that. Neurons that fire together, wire together. Terrific. Y'all are excellent students. And now I wanted to think a little bit about that CEO. Some of the jobs of the CEO, we just missed them. Is he'll, that slide, I won't go back. Well, maybe I should go. It's he'll, skill, and will, okay? And you have this on your handout, but the hill is just that the CEO wants to have a plan. Maybe I should do this. Yeah, the CEO wants to make a plan for the company, just like you as a student need a plan or just a goal that I want to make an A on that test, or like in a soccer game, I want to win the game, or in a project, I want to do my best. That's your hill, that's your goal, and this is in the frontal lobes, prefrontal cortex of your brain, and the skill is just how do you get the skills to get there. And that's where you focus on getting those skills. And will is sticking with it and not giving up. And that's what today is really all about, is sticking with it and not giving up. There we go. I'm getting a little... This is all about managing stress, right? Okay, you can learn anything if your brain is open. Can you be open? Let's see, open. Brain is open, you can learn anything. Whoops. And that's like the power of your open brain. But does your brain ever shut down? Yes. Yeah, the answer is yes, because it's the way, it's normal for brains to shut down, especially if they feel kind of anxious. And so this is my very favorite part of the brain is your amygdala, and it's this little kind of red, this almond-shaped. The word amygdala in Greek means almond, and so it's an almond-shaped part of your brain in the emotional part of your brain, the limbic system. Let's all say, and can you bounce it down your arm because it'll make it work better. Let's say amygdala. Good. Again, amygdala. Good. That's awesome. So the amygdala. It's the guardian of your learning brain, and it's the part of your brain that does fight or flight. Okay, so now you really know what the amygdala is. What if you were sitting here reading, doing your homework, and this giant lion comes over and is it's going to eat you up? Would you keep sitting there just calmly reading your book? Or would you? What would your amygdala tell you to do? Yeah, and actually, and so, like God put your amygdala in your brain to protect you from danger, from real danger, and so your blood flow will actually decrease to the learning part, to the thinking parts of your brain, and the blood flow will increase to the parts of your brain that help you to fight and run. And so you cannot learn well when your amygdala is shutting your brain down. it's like putting up a stop sign in your brain. Can you learn well if you have a stop sign in your brain? I wouldn't think so. And so it's your job to keep your amygdala happy. What if we all say, it's my job to keep my amygdala happy? Let's say, it's my job to keep my amygdala happy. Yes, and that's what today is all about. Because if you keep it happy, your brain will be open. How important, I mean, I've gotten obsessed with this. I've gotten obsessed because I just start thinking, and I'm obsessed about a lot of things, right, Susan? And so, but this is the most huge to me because I'm always into teaching strategies. I'm into teaching strategies. That's what I always do, and I always have toys up here, and we're doing, I mean, it's not toys, it's just anything that works for any age, and I do this in college too. It's all ages. I do it with adults above college. But it just hit me that if your amygdala, if your brain is shut down, it doesn't matter what the strategy is, you may as well quit. And that's what a lot of our students have done, right? I mean, have any of y'all ever felt like or seen somebody else that sort of gave up and you kind of are not going to learn? Can you picture that? Maybe? So that's why I've gotten so crazy about this. So I made up this thing called the amygdala spa. And what I'd love for you to do, if you just like to doodle or anything, what I'd love is like maybe on a piece of your construction paper, or later, you could give it to me later, or you could just do it. I'd love to have somebody do me a picture of a hot tub with a brain just sort of, relaxing in the hot tub with maybe drinking a lemonade and maybe like cucumbers on their eyes, It would be really cool. So if you want to draw something like that, and you could name it the amygdala spa. Can you tell me? The amygdala spa. So, because what do you do in a spa? Are you tightened up tight and scared, or are you relaxed? Yeah, we want to relax our amygdala to keep our brain open. And so this SPA is an acronym that I just made up a while back this year, that the S stands for self-talk. So we're going to talk about this. And two books about self-talk that are so good. They're old. They're from when my kids were little, and they're 33 and 31 now. But predictive parenting, you have it in the back. You have it in your, in your references on the first little page of my favorite books. Plus it's on my website, which is hettyjohnson.com. But predictive parenting is really good and I really learned a lot of this 30 years ago, and I kind of forgot that that's where I learned a lot of it. So now I'm going back and rereading it. And then this is really not the yellow book. That's not the one I want you to get, and I forgot to put this one on your thing. It's by Faber, F-A-B-E-R, and Maslish, and it's called How to Talk So Kids Will Listen. And listen so kids will talk. This one is about how to talk so teens will listen. And it's good too, but I think the kids one was easier for me. I liked it better, but I just somehow didn't find my copy. So How to Talk So Kids Will Listen by Faber, F-A-B-E-R. It's just very good. So we're going to talk about some self-talk strategies to keep our amygdala happy. And the P stands for positive mistake correction. Let's think about the self-talk. When everybody in here, when you're doing something, what if it's something you don't feel good about? Something you feel like you're not good at it. Are you sitting there saying to yourself in your brain, are you saying, I'm so good at this, I love this? Are you saying that? No. Right. Are you maybe saying something like, what might you be saying?
I hate everything ever.
Yeah, I hate it. Yeah, it's so hard. So what do you think your amygdala tells your brain to do? Shut down. Yeah, and then the positive mistake correction, if you get back a test and you made a lot of mistakes on it, do we focus on what we did right, or do we tend to look at what was wrong and say, oh no, I messed up again? I think we tend to say that. So we're going to advocate for yourself, to ask for what you need. We're going to be talking about that. So I'm going to want you to practice these SPA steps. We're going to do them. That's why you have your index cards. You may not really end up printing all these on your cards, but I want you to at least maybe print one of them just to remind you when you go back home with your handout to print the statements on your index cards. And I'd want you to walk around saying them loudly, like saying, I'm good at reading, or I'm good at math. even if you don't think you are good at it. Because I want to get your brain to know, we're going to tell your brain, I want you to tell your brain what you really want to happen. So do you want to be no good at something? Or do you want to really be good at it? I think you want to be good at it. So we're going to tell your brain, I'm good at something. And I just think about when my daughter, who's 33 now, but when she was in elementary school, she struggled with math. And I got onto this kick. That was when I read Predictive Parenting. And I was teaching Natalie to say, I'm good at math. And she said, no, I'm not. And I said, well, can you count? You can count. You can add something. So you are good at math. I would use this for any subject. But I said everybody is on a continuum from knowing the most to knowing the least. And everybody has to learn. So you are good at math. Finally she started telling her brain, after a while, her brain quit fighting her. Your brain will fight you at first. It'll say, it won't believe you. But you keep telling your brain out loud, enthusiastically, walk around saying, I'm good at math. So one day, Natalie was going to have a big math exam the next day. And I said, well, Natalie, don't you need to study for your math exam? And she said, no, I'm good at math. And she really was better, but I did want her to study. So at the end of the day, we want your learning brain to be thinking, I'm good at this. I can do this. What if we polish our nails and say, I can do this? That's what I want you saying at the end of the day. Instead, what about kids who are struggling? At the end of the day, are they saying that, or are they saying, I just want out of here? That's kind of what they're saying, I think. And I think that's keeping their brain shut down. But this is going to keep your brain open so you can learn and enjoy learning. I want you to have better grades with less stress and have more time to play. That's my goal. So this self-talk, Matthew McConaughey is who gave me this first one. Matthew McConaughey, he told a story of, when he was a teenager, he was trying to start the lawnmower, pulling that handle. And he told his dad, he said, I can't do it. And his dad came over to young Matthew and said, don't say I can't, just say I'm just having trouble. Because if you say I can't, think about it, it makes you give up. You're going to say, oh, I can't. But if you say I'm just having trouble, so that would be one I'd love for you to write on an index card now or later. But I think it might be good to write some of this on the card now. And you're going to have all these statements in here. But I'd like, and then I would have a student walk around saying, I'm just having trouble. I can do this. I'm just having trouble. And this changed my life when, up until this time, when I read that book, I would be in the kitchen trying to open a jar, and I would just tell my husband immediately. I would say, I can't do it. You open it. Can you open it? And so ever since then, I've opened every jar. And I'll just be saying, I'm just having trouble. I'm just having trouble. And I'll get it open. Every time I'll get it open. And if I said I can't, your brain says, well, forget it. Quit. So, and then I'd want you to write maybe on a card, I'm good at this. Can we all say it? I'm good at this. Yes, and especially I'd want it to be the things you don't think you're good at now, because we're going to make those better. And then things like this, nothing is as hard as it seems. A young student that I was testing one day and doing this complicated cognitive test. So he had to figure out designs and patterns, and he just kept he taught me this one. I don't know where he learned it, but he was looking at these really complicated patterns that freak out a lot of people, but he kept saying, nothing is as hard as it seems. Nothing is as hard as it seems. And he kept at it, and he was just like off the charts on that cognitive test. And he wouldn't have been if he had said, oh no, because I've had some kids that say, oh no, that looks like cursive. And maybe that's a fate worse than death or something. And so then they're not going to get it. So I'd love for you to write, nothing is as hard as it seems, or as it looks, whichever feels better to you. And maybe on top of that, I can do this. And I'd want you to make up your own statements. Then I love this one. I'd like for you to write, I'm an A student on one. Because I know that everybody in here has an A student brain. You have an A student brain. And I want every student to think I'm an A student. And if you really don't like the thought of A, because I would also say it's not like you have to make A's. I don't want to act like it's no good if you don't make an A. So if you don't like that thought, I would just like you to say, I'm a great student. You know, if that feels better to you, say, I'm a great student. But my theory is that your brain is just discouraged, and we have to encourage it to know that you really have it in you. So, do we have any Alabama people in here? I thought we did. Sherry. Do we have any Auburn people in here? Okay, and we have a lot of other people in here. I'm sorry to just ask about those. But this is, I'm living in the past. This was the Iron Bowl that Auburn won in 2010, because that's when I really got into the amygdala, because we were behind, 24-0, and you know, most people, I think, had given up. I mean, if you were reasonable, we were just saying, oh, well, you know, next year, and this may never happen again. As long as Nick Saban is a master at everything I'm saying today. You know, Nick Saban is a master at the positive, and he is excellent. I mean, I think everybody should just go learn from Nick Saban, and their amygdala will be happy. They're going to keep their brain happy because he is good at it. But that particular game, you know, we were behind 24-0, and then we did not give up. Think about that. The CEO of your brain, Hill, skill, and will. The will is the part to stay, not give up, to stick with it. And I was reading the paper the day after that game, so excited, and I'm sorry to you Alabama people that I was excited that day. It hasn't happened again in a while. But I was reading the paper and reading quotes like this and thinking, oh my gosh, we won the Iron Bowl because of executive function. And how many, that's what they call this in the executive of your brain, executive function. And how many people were reading the paper that day thinking, oh, we won because of executive function? I don't think many people were thinking that. But these quotes, it's exactly what I want you as students and your students to, I want them to apply this to school. So this was Antoine Carter, who knew he was not fast enough, and he knew he couldn't run down Mark Ingram, who was a Heisman Trophy winner, but did he give up? No, he didn't give up. And he said, they asked him, why did he even keep running? He said, it's having the fight in you to keep going. Now think about this for school. It's the same thing. Even when you know you can't get there, just keep running. And I love this part. When you finish plays, great things happen. I want our students, I want y'all students to, that's the way I want to look at school. Does this make sense? If you think of school this way, if you finish plays, great things happen. Now the P, this is where the parents and the teachers come in so importantly, and the students themselves. But I want to really talk about parent and teacher talk for the P part of the amygdala spot. You know, I think we as parents, and I'm the same way, and teachers, it seems like it's gotten to, I think we think that we're like, our job is to point out what's wrong. I think we think that. I mean, I just think we kind of, you know, and it happens all the time when I'm evaluating students, and once I tell the parents this, you know, they're embarrassed because they'll, as soon as, when this child makes a little mistake, the parent naturally says, uh-oh, or you know, just that little, no, and I'll tell them, get rid of that. Don't say no or uh-oh, because it's not our job to point out what's wrong. I think that's part of what's shutting them, I mean, I know that's a big part of what's shutting them down. It's our job to point out what's right. So I would like, instead of pointing out mistakes, I'd want to say, you got this part right. Even if they bring back a test and there's only one thing right on it, I want you to say, you got this one right. Let's practice saying that. And do it with you got to be excited. You got this one right. And even if it's a teenager and you might think this is insulting, you'll have to say it where it's not too insulting, but still, would that be insulting to y'all teenagers? Yes. Well, what if we just say, I like what you did on this one. This was right. Can we? Maybe we don't say it that cheesy way. If we just say, you got this one right. Maybe just say that. You don't have to be cheesy. But you can just say, I got this one. You got this one right. now let's check on these others. Or now you can get these others. We'll work on getting these others. Even if all you did right was write your name and everything was wrong, I'd want you to say, you wrote your name so nice. And I'm serious. And I know this is crazy. But the thing is, now this, I haven't read this scientifically, but I think it's true, that your amygdala doesn't know your amygdala only knows what you tell it, I think. So if you tell your amygdala that you did it right, your amygdala is going to say, I got that right. And it's going to keep your brain open. Because do you want to close your brain down is the question. For example, I had a teenager recently, within the last few months, that the word was invitation, and she read it invention. And this is exactly what I did with her, is I said, you got the beginning and the ending right. This is typical with struggling readers. They'll look at the beginning and the ending and they just kind of wing it on the middle, you know. And so I said, let's say that. Let's say you got the beginning and the ending right. Let's say it. You got the beginning and the ending right. And it's whatever they got right. You got the first sound right. Oh, wow. But again, it might seem insulting, but you can work with it. And then pause while just give the student a second to think, let their amygdala soak in that, I got that right. Because their amygdala is used to thinking, messed up again, right? Aren't they used to thinking that? And by the end of the day, you're like suicidal because it's just no fun. It's no fun for your brain to think you're wrong. So I want you to pause, let that good feeling sink in, and don't say, but, because but takes away the whole deal. Then say, now let's check this part. Let's check the inside of the word. So I told her on invitation for invention, I said, you got the beginning and the ending right. Now let's check the middle. Let's check the inside. And that's the way I'd want you to handle everything. And I really I've thought more and more that this is hugely important for the parents and the teachers. Because we're, and I know you as parents and teachers, does this seem so unrealistic to you as a teacher?
We do this in small group. We talk about beginning and middle and end.
Oh, good. And would you, and to compliment them to point out what's right? Yeah, so that's great. And I think that there are, a lot of the time as parents and teachers, we may point out what's wrong.
Yeah, I say but a lot. I do. I say this isn't part good, but let's look at this part.
Yeah, so what if you just take out the but, which I know it's hard to do, but if you just say what you said and just say, now let's look at, just pause a second, you got this part right, now let's check this. And just leave out the but. Because I think it's subtle, but they know what it means. They know it means, okay, but you really messed up. I don't want them to think that. I want to keep their amygdala blissfully ignorant of the mistakes. Okay, so this is going to be about the student talk. But I think that the parent and the teacher talk is crucial. It's even more, they're both crucial. But if we don't change our talk, we've got to change our talk. And not that I'm looking at you and saying, you got to change your talk. You might already be doing this. But we've got to make sure the child or the student is hearing the good and not, because think about how would you feel if every time, what if somebody felt like they were in charge of pointing out everything you did wrong all day? I mean, if you just took a little wrong turn, if they said, you went the wrong way, I mean, it would make you kind of antsy, wouldn't it? Anxious? Yeah. And so that's what we don't want to happen. So students, I want you to be kind to yourself and tell your brain what you want to happen. It needs to be in present tense. That's a big point that Shad Helmstetter makes. It has to be present tense, like I am good at this. Because if you tell your brain, I'm going to be good at this, your brain will say, okay, well, just tell me when. And it'll sit back and wait. So you've got to tell it, I am good. Present tense and enthusiasm, and with I am. I am good at this. Not you are good at this. Because your brain is going to get the message better, and your brain will believe you. I don't know what I'm not doing right on here, but I'm good at this, right? I'm good at this. Oh, I'm way good at this. Okay, I'm going to back up a little bit.
You are doing so
I'm doing so well. Yeah, I did the beginning and the ending right. Let's see. And we're here. And we're here. Okay, good. These are some emails I've received just in the past few weeks from parents who just started using these tips. And this mother wrote, "I'm enjoying your good tips. I especially feel empowered when we read together. I find that focusing on what he gets right when reading the long words works wonders." And I just was so excited to get that email. Then March 7th, I had just evaluated this child, and it was like the next day or two, the mother wrote this and said he really wanted to get that "I can't do this" attitude. Okay, have you ever seen that attitude? "I can't do this" attitude? Yeah, I mean, and we all have done it when we don't feel like we can do something. And this is not fun. Have you ever seen a "this is not fun" attitude with homework? Yeah. But I pulled out the index cards that you're holding in your hand, and we read them, and he changed. It worked. I was so excited. And then this is from a mother of dyslexic children, and she tutors dyslexia, and she's in Montgomery, and she wrote, "Awesome, it works. One of my students during our lesson tonight kept saying, 'I've got this.' We have practiced a lot, and her mom says her anxiety level has really improved. So much more at ease with new concepts. She is my precious student that cried when she couldn't do something. No more." I mean, how awesome is that? I just do backflips when I get these emails. In the amygdala spa, the A stands for be proactive and discuss your concerns with your teacher. And to say something like, I'm not going to read exactly this, but I'm going to tell you about my friend in Montgomery that I just told you about. She was actually my roommate at Auburn. We graduated in 1970 from Auburn, and she is tutoring. And she told me this story about a boy doing this, advocating for himself. He's a fifth grader. She was so excited. He's a fifth grader, and he's so scared. How many of y'all or your students do not like it when they're called on to read out loud in front of a group? Yeah, I mean, that's like just always, everybody hates that, and people will do anything to avoid that, right? I mean, you don't like to read in front of a group. And so this is something, the student called his fifth grade teachers all together. He said, "I'd like to talk to y'all." And this is a fifth grader, and he says, and I know these teachers were impressed, he said, I want to make A's in your classes, or I want to do my best in your classes, but I need some help from you. And if you would agree to let me sit up close to the front, I want to sit up close so I'll be able to really learn the best. But would you just promise me not to call on me to read out loud or to answer unless I raise my hand? And I promise you I will raise my hand to do things. But if you will just promise not to call on me without warning, or even if you want to just tell me what to read, just give me a warning the day before, and I can practice on it at home. Then I'll be glad to read it. If you can just let me know ahead, because otherwise I'm so nervous that I'm just too nervous to learn. And do we all know that feeling? I mean, we've all had that feeling. How many of y'all have ever sat in a class and just kind of put your head down and hope they didn't see you? Right? Yeah. Don't make eye contact. Don't make eye contact. Maybe they won't know I'm here. And that's so normal. It's normal. And were you learning well when you were thinking that way? Yeah, you can't be learning because you're anxious. So we said this to the teachers, and then he said, "But when I raise my hand, would you please call on me? I want you to call on me because I want to participate. But if you do this, I can listen to you and learn." And so does that make sense? Yeah, and just think, I mean, those teachers are mostly going to say yes, I think. Do you think? I mean, if you say, "And in return for that, I promise I'll be prepared, I'll work hard, I'll be your best student, but I just have to be not scared." And so, and this, sometimes it's more important to read the teacher than the book. Now, this is my friend Plumley. That's what I'm talking about, Joan Plumley, who did this in 2013. These ideas came from G. Emerson Dickman, and Rob Langston, both of whom are dyslexic. G. Emerson Dickman is a world-famous special education attorney and was president of the International Dyslexia Association. And Rob Langston, his book, For the Children, his name is Rob Langston, LD. instead of like MD, he put LD for like learning disabilities. And he puts that on his cover of his book, Rob Langston LD, which I just love. And he's in Georgia. He graduated from West Georgia University. And of course, he graduated from law school. They're both internationally known speakers, but they both used these strategies themselves in school. And like in college, they had special permission to interview their teachers before the classes started, when they'd sign up. And if the teachers were not amenable to doing this, they had the permission to change and get a different instructor. And so, like Rob Langston, the kids in school used to tease him about riding the short bus, the special ed bus, but he said that now my short bus is my private Lear jet. So it's okay. I'd like to tell you one more story about one of my friends that reminded me of, and thinking about advocating for yourself. If you need more time, this isn't just about not being embarrassed in school. It's anything that's giving you a hard time. If you can ask your teacher, if you can have some extra time. Like a friend of mine, her son struggled all through school and didn't know really what his learning issues were, but he had ADHD. So when he took the ACT, he'd always felt like he was not smart, and his teachers agreed with him that he was not smart. But he made a 19 on the ACT, which was not good enough to get into, like Auburn. He wanted to be a mechanical engineer. So, but then his mother advocated for him. But I'd like to tell you that your students, you can advocate. Ask for what you need. They asked, could he have extra time on the ACT? And because the mother said, do you want to know how fast he can take it, or do you want to know what he knows? And so they gave him extra time and a half, and his 19 turned into a 33. And now he's a rocket scientist in Huntsville and tremendously successful. He's like 35 years old now with 2 young children and brilliant. But like he told his mother, how sad is this? He said, Mom, I never thought I was smart until I made that 33. And it just sort of tears your heart out, because he really did not think he was smart. And he'd get into trouble because, if you'd rather look bad, and not that he looked bad, but anybody would rather look bad than look stupid or look like you just don't care. And therefore, people get the idea you don't care, but you do care. You just want to cover up. And so this boy that's now a rocket scientist and good at mechanical engineering, when he was in middle school, as just a joke, he dismantled all the toilet flushing devices in the school and put the toilet flushing devices in his locker. And his mother was a teacher at that school. So it was pretty funny. But that's good for a mechanical engineer and a rocket scientist. I mean, he can dismantle rockets and put them back together, and they shoot them off. The Matthew effect, in the book of Matthew 13:12, where it talks about the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, is kind of a way this has been interpreted, that to those who have much, more will be given, and to those who have less, they'll have even less. I should know the quote.
Taken away.
Will be taken away. That's it. Yeah, so this is an education saying, too, called the Matthew effect. And it is the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. So would you rather be the rich get richer in school or the poor get poorer? Which one would you rather, Molly?
I'd rather be rich.
Yes. So, because think about it, in school, aren't there some kids who just everything seems to come easy? And, and they just get better and better. It's this cycle going up. And then some kids, it's all hard. And the harder it is, the more your amygdala shuts you down and you go down. And so if our brain hears negatives from us or from others, it shuts down your brain and spirals it down. And if our brain hears encouragement from us or others, it stays open and spirals up. And I feel like everybody's getting tired all of a sudden. Are y'all getting tired all of a sudden? Oh, good. So I need encouragement. My brain is starting to shut down. So y'all got to look at me like, I love this. Okay?
We're learning.
Okay, good.
This is what we need.
Yes, good. Because I don't want for me to shut down. But I'm thinking like the SPA, the SPA, the self-talk. What are some things you can tell yourself, like written on your cards? Can you tell us one, Mary?
I'm a great student.
Yay! Mary's a great student. Who can tell us another one?
I'm good at this.
Yes, you're good at this. What else can you tell?
I'm having a little trouble with this.
Yes, good. But can you do it?
Yes,
Oh, good. Good. And then the positive parent, teacher, and the parent, positive parent talk. What can you say as a parent or as a teacher that's positive? You could say,
look what you did right. You got this one.
yes, good, excellent. And then plus advocating for yourself, asking for what you need, that all that can reverse the spiral to go upward instead of downward. And that's a lot more fun.